Holy cow, the Super Bowl, the granddaddy of them all. Well, actually, that's what they say about WrestleMania. But the Super Bowl comes from very humble beginnings. Very humble beginnings. And man, if you look at the history of the Super Bowl, of how big it has gotten, it's rather amazing. Reading up the history, I know a lot about the history, but reading up the history of the Super Bowl, how it first started, how it was almost like an afterthought to the regular season. And it's amazing that there was, all you had to do, there was the AFL and the NFL championship and the games there, and that was who was going to play in the Super Bowl. Now you have the wild card, and you have the divisional round, and you have the AFC, NFC championship game, and then the Super Bowl. And oh my God, the Super Bowl now, you could almost think of it as a holiday. I mean, it is huge. The Super Bowl is one of the hugest games of the year. But man, if you looked back at Super Bowl one, it's actually funny. It's funny looking at it now because you would have never thought the Super Bowl would be as big as it is now. And what, just a cow? Oh yes, speaking of that, this day in history, that's the reason I'm bringing up about the Super Bowl, because January 15th, 1967 was the very first Super Bowl that was ever played. And I decided to do some random stats, random stuff you may not know or you may know about Super Bowl one. Let's see, the start time now for the Super Bowl is about 5:30. It's an all-day thing with festive stuff, pre-game stuff, and there's interviews and all that. Forget that. That wasn't even a thing in 1967. The start time, 1:15. Right after lunch. Time to start the Super Bowl. No, now it's after supper. But in 1967, it was after lunch. And let's see. Oh, this one here is really eye-popping. The cost of a 30-second commercial in 1967 was roughly about $700,000. Wasn't too much. Now the cost is between $7 and $8 million. That's how big the Super Bowl has become. Just to do one commercial, you need to fork out $7 or $8 million. And the commercials in 1967 really wasn't much. Really wasn't much because they didn't have the technology that they have now to do these commercials. And everybody wants to, all the famous people want to do a commercial nowadays. All of them do. They want a big piece of that pie. It was broadcasted on two networks, CBS and NBC. You wouldn't hear this nowadays. It's usually on one channel and that is it. And they had the streaming services and all that, but they had two that were broadcasting it. Now the Super Bowl is a hot commodity. No matter what stadium they have it in, whether it's in Florida, whether it's in New York, whether it's in Las Vegas, California, it doesn't matter where the Super Bowl is. Everybody wants a ticket to the Super Bowl, which is enormously expensive, really expensive. And I probably should look up how much a Super Bowl ticket cost in 1967, but maybe as it may, I'm going to go ahead and go with the video. But the Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, which can fit in excess of 150,000 people, nowadays that would be sold out. Nope, it was not a sellout. Can you believe that? Super Bowl one was not a sellout. Now the Super Bowl sells out every freaking year. It is a complete sellout. Back then, no, it wasn't a sellout. They had like 33,000 seats that were empty. Could you picture that? Could you picture that at all now? A Super Bowl being half empty. It would never happen now unless it was a terrorist attack or something, but it would never happen. Only, it sounds like a lot, 1967, but only 51 million actually watched the Super Bowl because we were still in the early days of television. Television had been around roughly, probably about 20 years. So we were still roughly in the early stages of television. There wasn't a lot of stations to be had in 67. So only 51 million watching the Super Bowl is a really low number. I mean, my God, more than 51 million people watch The View on a daily basis. So 51 million seems like an awfully low number. And what, just a cow? Yeah, the numbers are a little harder to track now because, of streaming servers and streaming devices. It can get anywhere in excess of 150 million people. That's right, 150 million people watching the Super Bowl. That's how big the Super Bowl has become. And this one really got to me, how much they got paid. The Packers, who won the Super Bowl, I forgot to mention that, the Packers beat the Chiefs 35-10. But the Packers received like $15,000, the players did, received $15,000 for playing in the Super Bowl. And the losers, the Chiefs, players got $7,500. And now they'll receive almost $200,000, the winning side will. Losing side, a little bit over $100,000. So the amount they get paid is, pretty astronomical. It keeps going up, but just think of that. They only got $15,000 paid for playing in the Super Bowl. That's a pretty good chunk of money in 1967. And the one that I found really, really comical, what? The halftime show. Oh yeah, the halftime show is so over the top now. There's people, they don't even get paid for it. If you can believe that. These entertainers don't even get paid for their halftime shows nowadays. They just do it to get eyes on their songs, and then people will go out and buy their CDs or whatever have you, or merchandise. So they just do it just to get a little bit of publicity. So when you think of these halftime acts like Michael Jackson and Prince and Snoop Dogg, and you think of these big over-the-top halftime shows with the production and all the cost it takes, you're thinking, well, how did that start? It surely didn't start with Super Bowl I, because Super Bowl I, the halftime show was marching bands. The pre-show was 4,000 pigeons being released. That was really sad. And that's pretty much how Super Bowl I started. Pigeons being released. Welcome to the Super Bowl and 4,000 pigeons shitting on your heads. Could you imagine them doing that now? No, I really can't imagine them releasing pigeons out into the wild now. But it would be quite funny. But the halftime show, marching bands. Would people lose their minds if they just decided one year, you know what? We don't want no halftime show. Let's just make it as boring as possible and have marching bands. Could you imagine that? That would be a quite interesting halftime show. But then again, with some of the people they've had singing at the halftime shows, that might be more entertaining when you really think about it, marching bands. So in this day in history, the Super Bowl officially started. And yeah, I know, it seems a little early, doesn't it? Because usually the Super Bowl is not until February. It's fairly early, January 15th. But like I said earlier, they didn't have all the playoff games that they have nowadays. So the Super Bowl has, come a long, long ways since the early days of this. The early days of it, it really wasn't the best. It really wasn't. There really wasn't much to the Super Bowl And now it's like, it's an all-day event now with parties and all the grandeur that comes with the Super Bowl. I mean, you start preparing for the Super Bowl months in advance before it's even here. And the Super Bowl one, just an afterthought. I mean, it's amazing how much it has changed in the years since then. I mean, it's rather amazing when there's many more stats and stuff you didn't know that I could bring up, that I could probably do more research into it. But man, just go and look this stuff up. You just wouldn't believe it. Just type in something random on Google, and it's just amazing how far the Super Bowl has come. It's eye popping when you really think about it. And it's funny on the start times now compared to then, how much players got paid then to how much they get paid now, the commercials, which was barely an afterthought even then, to what they are now. Commercials is one of the reasons people watch the game to begin with now. And well, congratulations to another year of a Super Bowl, because this was officially the first one ever played in 1967, and well, it was not a classic game. It was a boring game, as the Packers won 35-10 over my Chiefs. Me and Mom are saying that's all for now.
That's all for now.